There's an article in US News and World Reports talking about the 10 worst foods and drinks for anxiety. Now, if you're someone like me who has suffered from a little bit of anxiety issues over time, then you're going to want to pay attention to this because there's one particular item in here that was causing a lot of anxiety for me, and I'm glad I identified it. So stick around to the end. Let's dive in. But before we do, I'm Dr. Nick Zarowski. Welcome to the channel. Be sure to subscribe, and as always, hit that notification bell so you are alerted when new videos are released. And then also check out my full library of videos on www.drzee.tv. Now, before we get started, I have to ask you, are you somebody who has ever suffered from anxiety? Put down in the comments below, because I'd be interested to know how many people who watch this video is someone that actually has suffered from anxiety or depression or anything like that. And then as we talk about this, I have some other questions for you. So let's start with that. Put down below, have you ever suffered from anxiety? Let me know. Now, we're going to go right to the foods, okay? So one of the things that we know is that highly processed foods like bread, cakes, meats, cheese, and a lot of really bad foods cause inflammation in the body, okay? And they cause a lot of stress on our central nervous system, and as a result, what happens is it affects our mood, okay? Here's the 10 worst foods and drinks and ingredients to consume for anxiety. First of all, we're going to have cakes, cookies, candies, and also pies. All right, well, we know that these are all cause problems because they cause some pretty severe inflammation within the body. I mean, these things typically are loaded with so many bad ingredients, right? I mean, if you think about the typical cakes and cookies and candies and pies out there, I mean, we're talking, all these artificial flavors, we're talking corn syrup, we're talking, bleached white flour, we're talking a lot of really unhealthy stuff. Okay, now if you're making this stuff at home in a healthy, controlled manner, then you'll probably be just fine. But if you're getting the general stuff out there from the grocery stores and the food places, there's a good chance that it can cause anxiety for you. Your body doesn't like it. Sugary drinks is the next on our list. Sugary drinks, well, let's take a Coca-Cola, for instance. If you take a Coca-Cola, let's say a 12-ounce Coca-Cola, it's going to have about 8 to 13 teaspoons of sugar in it. Now, that sugar isn't any sugar. It's high fructose corn syrup, which is highly processed, and it goes right to the liver, and it causes a lot of health problems for us. Now, the other thing about these sugary drinks and these sodas and teas and everything that people are drinking is that these are considered empty calories, okay? You are literally drinking sugar, a flavored water with a lot of sugar in it. That's what you're drinking. Causes anxiety. Processed meats, cheeses, and also ready-made meals. Okay, same concept as the cakes and cookies and pies and all that. We got to watch out for that. Coffee, tea, and energy drinks. Now, you may not know this, but a lot of people are going to get anxiety from caffeine, okay? And when I said that I was a person who suffered from this, and I'm going to identify what was causing it for me, it's coffee. Okay, there's no doubt about it. My body does not like 100 milligrams of coffee drank over a 15-minute period. It just doesn't like it. That's a typical 8-ounce cup of coffee. Now, when we look at people who are drinking energy drinks, my gosh, like I don't even know how you could handle it. Now, one time my brother-in-law got me a 300 milligram caffeine energy drink, and I literally looked at it, I go, I can't drink that. That thing will kill me. And I literally would not feel comfortable with drinking it. I think I would probably have some heart palpitations. I'd feel it in my heart. I would also probably just have my mind racing. I would have anxiety. I wouldn't feel good. So you have to realize, if this is an issue for you, you got to cut the caffeine. Now, there's people who have genetic variances which make them a slow caffeine metabolizer. I happen to be one of those people. And what happens is you just can't process it quickly. So somebody who is a fast caffeine metabolizer, who doesn't have this genetic variance, you could drink a cup of coffee and literally it could be out of your system like within an hour or less. It could be out of your system in like 30 minutes, right? Whereas somebody who has the genetic variance like I do, and I don't want to call it a problem because it's not a problem. It's just a genetic variance. We all have different genetics, and this just happens to be the ones that I have, the cards I'm dealt, And many people have this though too. So it's important to realize that. Now, it could take my body upwards to 6 to 10 hours to actually clear this caffeine from my system. Pretty wild, right? So when I drink coffee, I'm always drinking half decaf, at the very least half decaf. So it's an interesting thing. So make sure that we're paying attention to that. Alcohol is another big one. Fruit and vegetable smoothies without protein. Okay, so basically, if you're just tons of fruits and vegetables, let's go into why they say fruit and vegetable smoothies, because I think that one's kind of interesting, right? They're a great way to get nutrition, various fruits and vegetables. However, if your smoothie only contains fruit and vegetables without protein, you may experience a spike and fall of your blood sugar, which can lead to feelings of anxiety. Okay, so really what they're talking about is, well, blood sugar instability. Okay, so it kind of goes back to all the same things: the sweeteners, the cakes, the sugars, and all that kind of stuff. Artificial sweeteners are next on the list. Now, I am not a fan of any of these artificial sweeteners. We're talking Splenda, aspartame, all these ones that people just consume every single day. I mean, I think they're horrible for you. There's a huge argument out there because a lot of people say there's no research that backs up that these are bad for you. Look, the research is mixed on it. There is research that says it's not good. There's research that says it's fine. But here's how I look at it. I had a patient one time who was a commercial airline pilot, and I asked him, I said, what's your take on the artificial sweeteners? Because when you look at a pilot, the FAA is very strict about what they can do. Very strict. I mean, they have in some cases hundreds of lives in their hands. They're flying an airplane through the air with a whole bunch of people in it. Well, they are not allowed to consume artificial sweeteners. Why? Well, because the FAA deems that it actually alters their neurological response and will diminish their response time in the case of an emergency, okay? And will make them ultimately not be able to make good decisions. So artificial sweeteners, there are impacts on anxiety from artificial sweeteners and diet soda or other drinks that are sold as sugar-free. Although they may be okay for some people, others are significantly affected, okay? These artificial sweeteners have been associated with neuropsychiatric problems, including anxiety, okay? So there you go, associated with neuropsychiatric problems, according to an article she co-authored and the Frontiers of Psychiatry. That's actually a great article. And, you know, when I do these, I learn so much with you guys. That's why I love this channel and I love going through this, because I learn so much. The other day, I just learned some new statistics on prescription medications, and I was so excited to find it. Gluten's a big one. Okay, we all know that gluten has a major impact. It really hurts people who their bodies react poorly to it. And also, if you have an immune system that doesn't like gluten, then you're going to react poorly and it causes anxiety. And here's the thing too, is in general, most people aren't going to do good with gluten. I mean, if you're eating wheat in America, there's a good chance that you're not going to react well. It's just what they have done through the genetically modification process of changing the wheat here. The gluten is just such a problem for people. And that's why people in America have problems eating grains, where you could have a problem eating the grains here. You can go to another country, eat their grains, and you're just fine. Hidden sugars are a big one, okay? Processed vegetable oils. This is a big one that most people don't understand, but processed vegetable oils are not going to be good for you, and they can cause anxiety. They can actually cause inflammation. They can cause a lot of problems for you. So when we look at processed vegetable oils, we're thinking soybean oil and corn oil, there's some others out there too, but those are probably the two top ones that people use. So I'd stay away from those. You know, we want to be using things like coconut oil and avocado oil. We also want to use olive oil, just don't heat it. And then, good old butter is a great fat too. Same thing, we don't want to heat it because it denatures it. The best oil that you can use that heats really well, and you can even fry with it, is going to be avocado oil. So make sure that you're not heating any of those oils. So as far as anxiety goes, there you have it, folks. What I would recommend, if you're somebody who has a lot of anxiety, first of all, I will tell you that if it's something that's bothering you, you can kick off the path to fixing it with just taking some magnesium. I have one that I use with people all the time, and it's called Neurocalm. I'll put a link in the description below. But this is a magnesium that is able to cross into the brain and just help you calm down, okay? And so I like it. I actually take magnesium daily. I've told people that before. I'm a big fan of taking magnesium daily. This is what I take daily. It's just so good and calming. It's good for your cardiovascular system. It's good for your brain. It's good for everything. So beyond that, when it comes to the foods, what you can do is actually take a diet diary, okay? And if you're somebody who has anxiety, list the foods that you're eating and pay attention to how you feel when you eat certain foods. I guarantee you're going to find certain foods that just don't do good things for you. Like I literally would be like a bomb of anxiety with a big old fat cup of coffee. Let's say I went and got a big old black coffee that was fully caffeinated. Let's say it was 14 ounces or something. I mean, I literally would just be like, oh my gosh, I could just feel my body crawling with anxiety. And so I realized I can't do that. I just cannot handle it. So I do half and half coffee. I do half Swiss water decaf. You want to make sure you're not just getting the regular decaf because it's a very toxic, chemically laden process they use to create the decaf. So in general, avoid regular decaf and then get one called Swiss water decaf. You can get it pretty much anywhere, any major grocery store. And I do half and half Swiss water decaf and half regular caffeinated coffee. So there's a few thoughts on anxiety, and let me know in the description below if this information was helpful to you. And then beyond that, go ahead and check out some of the other videos I have on this channel. I mean, there's so much good stuff here. And if you want to stay well informed on how to improve your health, you got to be here watching some of the content because it's life altering.